Hi, Uncle Kevin here. Some of the members on Momentum FundsAtWork asked me about certain things they would like to find out about FundsAtWork, how it works, what kind of information should they complete, and what about the investment choices. So I thought that it's best to get the specialist from Momentum FundsAtWork to answer those questions and then to explain to all the members, whether you're new or old, about how Momentum FundsAtWork works. And so I'm very happy to have Alex Imputlane from Momentum. He is the corporate specialist who has been with Momentum for quite a number of years, and he is here to join me on this program. So let's find out about Momentum FundsAtWork in terms of its benefits, its services, its investment choices. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and click that notification bell to get notified of the new episodes that come up. So Alex, welcome to this program. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. And yourself, Kevin?
Good, thanks. As we know, Momentum is one of the largest financial services companies in South Africa, and Momentum FundsAtWork has been around for also many years. It provides umbrella solutions to employer groups, and many of our employer groups are also on Momentum FundsAtWork. I'd just like to ask you some of the questions that members has posted me. Alex, I believe that you have prepared some presentation slides to share with our members.
Excellent. It is. It's my pleasure, Kevin, also for me to be here. And thank you very much. I've just shared it on the screen there.
All
Thank you.
right. The first question I'd like to ask you is that what can they expect from Momentum FundsAtWork? Especially if you think about a new member, how to onboard them, what do they need to do? Is there any form they need to complete? What kind of information or communication can they expect from Momentum as a new member?
Thank you very much. Yes, so for a new member, we know that the fund is already in existence. And
Yes.
the employer is already interfacing with us on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So here's a new member joining the employer. Then the new member, we know that maybe the employer says, okay, the member will commence the first of this coming month.
Yeah.
So when we send the reconciliation extract, or if the employer accesses our employer portal, they will go onto the Excel spreadsheet, which has all the members. And then on the bottom, the employer will then punch in the information of the new member
Yeah.
on the effective month that they will be joining by. That's how we will pick up the new member. Then what can that new member expect? They will be loaded on there, and then we will pick it up on our side. And then our system will automatically prepare what we call a welcome pack.
Okay.
And that welcome pack comes with a soft copy of a welcome letter,
Yeah.
which has the fund that they will belong to, what is their pension fund number or the member number. It will even have a nomination form. And if the fund
Okay.
has got other benefits, there will also be a whole outline of what benefits they are going to enjoy
Right.
on the fund that they are going to belong to.
Would the member receive that via the email address?
Yes, the member will receive this via the email address. If you look at the screen there, I have just put there a sample of how it looks. It has got columns where the employer portal user will actually give us the name, the surname, the phone number, the email address, the passport number or ID number of the member. So
Yeah.
via that email address, we will then be able to communicate to the member to welcome them with this welcome pack
Okay.
into the fund. Yes.
Right. So what you say is that the email address is very important. If somehow that the email address is entered incorrectly, then the member
Yes.
will not get it. Will then
100%.
Momentum be able to pick up from your system to say that maybe there's an email that's bounced, or maybe that the email is incorrect, to inform the employer of such error?
Yes, yes, yes. As it always happens, if one has typed in the wrong email address,
Yeah.
you'll always find that you get a message back that this didn't go through. So the same
Okay.
will apply to us. When that happens, then our administrator has the contact details of a contact person at the employer. Then all she or he will do is they will communicate to the employer to say, we picked up a new member, but our system was not able to, get through to her with the email with the welcome pack. Yes.
In the past, I remember that I used to receive those welcome pack from Momentum, and I would physically go to the employer group, their office, and then to deliver those welcome packs. Obviously, things have changed so much since COVID and transformation of various industries, including our industry, to more going to online. Do you still deliver those physical welcome packs, or have you really moved to kind of a virtual online world where you just email to the member?
Yes, so with the fourth industrial revolution upon us all, we really want to go digital now. That is predominantly what we do.
Yes.
But as you are aware of, our demographics, sometimes you find that the profile of the employer that we are dealing with has got members who do not have access to online portals or digital platforms. So it is in that situation where we would accommodate and arrange hard copies printed and delivered. But all in all, we are going this route of digital communication now.
In terms of the forms that a new member needs to complete, there are two forms. One is kind of a new member details, and the other one is the beneficiary nomination form, which is very important. Can you just touch on that?
Excellent. Yes. So on that welcome pack that we sent with a welcome letter, there is a member detail form that we sent there, because we know that we have managed to pick up the member when the employer loaded the information on the extract. But we still feel that let's get the member confirming once more their details. Maybe they have an additional cell phone number, or they prefer to be called by a certain name, because that form actually asks, who should we call you if we communicate with you? What communication do you prefer? So yes, you are correct. There's a personal detail form which is attached. The member can complete that once more, and then the nomination form as well, because as the fund is in place, if the member passes on, then we need to know, who should receive the benefits. So the nomination form is very, very important.
And in terms of the beneficiary nomination form, does the member have to send it back to you, or do they give to the HR?
Yeah, so in this scenario, some of the employers say to us, rather, let's get our members completed, and we will keep it in their personal files. And then when there's a death, we compile everything for you, including the form. Some employers say, no, we want you to have a copy and we will keep a copy. So we normally just work with the employer and say, what do you think will be feasible for you? But most employers like to then scan and send them through to us and keep another copy in office as well. And on the nomination form, if I can add, Kevin, the member doesn't necessarily have to complete it only once. Because things change. You may find that when the member joins the fund, they were married. And then a year or two later, they are still in the fund. Now they have a child. So maybe they want the disposal to change accordingly. So it's not a matter of just completing the form once and then that's it. It always have to be updated.
Yes, a very good point. I think that a lot of times when there's a death claim, where there's a run into problem because maybe the beneficiary nomination form is not updated. Now turn to online functionality. How does a member register, log in, and what can they find and do on your website, or maybe nowadays on their cell phone?
Yes. Thanks a lot, Kevin. That's a good one too. So now we have the member in our books. They have sent us the forms. Then we say to the member, hey, we have a website as well. They can go to www.momentum.co.za. On there, as you see on the screen there, they click on log in, which is an option on the far right, top right of the screen. They go there, they click register, and underneath it will ask whether their citizenship is that of a resident here, or a natural citizen, or non-natural citizen. Either that applies, the member will go to the relevant one, put in their details. Then they will be prompted to add their information right through to completion, where then they will be given their user ID, which they will then be able to use when they access our site. Of course, they will also have to set up their own password as well. But it's a very user-friendly step-by-step. And we even have a member guide, which I will email to you, explaining these various steps as well. Then I think the other question was, what can members do there? They can update their details. The beneficiaries we were talking about, members can update their beneficiaries there. Over and above the form that we spoke about, they can do their personal details, their contact details. If the fund has got insurance benefits, they can do the flex up and so forth. Even the investment choices that we will talk about at some stage. They can look at whether they are saving enough towards retirement. Some of the options there have got financial tools that even have kind of robots. Or to say you are on red, you're not saving enough, or you're on amber, you need to beef up a bit in terms of your retirement savings. So it's quite a handy fountain of information, the member site that we have here.
Alex, I really like about this calculation or projection about retirement savings, because I think the problem in South Africa generally is that most people, they don't save or don't save enough. But bear in mind that the retirement fund saving can just be one part of the overall savings. So is there any function where maybe the member can say, okay, I got this additional investment with Old Mutual and this additional investment with Coronation. I can put in the details here so to see, am I actually on my way to retire comfortably? Will I get to the green light?
The portal itself is quite detailed. They are able to fill in the information. So if you take it on that wider consideration, yes, you are correct. But on that point also, Kevin, we shouldn't forget Uncle Kevin. Remember, the member works where they are. Their field of expertise is not what Kevin does. So as much as we give members all these portals, but the main gospel that we always send out to the members is, when it comes to member choices, increasing benefits, and so forth, please rather have a word with your expert, because you are knowledgeable. This is your field. For me as a member, for example, if I'm a musician or I am a physician, I may not be so knowledgeable about how to do my proper pre-retirement planning, 100% correct. So as much as we've got all the tools, but we encourage the members to come to you so that you can provide the advice that you are accredited and do so well expertly.
Yes. Thank you, Alex, for promoting me. Generally, like financial planners play a very important role in helping people and members to be on the right path to retire comfortably. And just go back, Alex, about member, what they can put in or update on the portal. Can they also update like their banking details?
Yes. All the personal information that we need. The same one that we saw on that extract, which the employer gives, same applies even on the portal as well. The member can update that, yes.
Okay. Definitely at this day and age, there will have concern about cyber crime and cyber security. How secure is your portal and in terms of protecting members, and what members should be doing to try to protect their information so that it's not being hacked?
So we have got all the arrangements when it comes to cyber security and all that we see today. So when it comes to the registration process, it is structured in such a way that, your usual pieces of advice in terms of how to make your password secure and more safer and so forth, those steps are there when the member registers.
Yeah.
Over and above the fact that we also have our own IT unit that makes and takes care of cybersecurity and the measures thereof as well.
Keep your username and password safe and use a strong password so that your information is protected. Alex, let's move on to the next important discussion here because it's about member investment choice. What I found as a consultant or broker is that most members, they're apathetic about their investment choices or about the investment. They're just happy that they know that the retirement funds exist and contributions are made on their behalf. Maybe they will check their statement from time to time, but they are not really asking too much question about investment. But I would love to have more members asking these questions, be more active in the choice they make. So I think before we talk about member investment choice, can you just unpack about this default portfolio? Why do they exist? What does it mean for members?
Yes, thanks a lot, Kevin. So putting in place a default portfolio is yet another way to make things easier for the employer and for the members. Because here we have the employer who are busy with the services that they offer. And they want a fund so that they can have benefits. But the whole group of people that we are talking about don't have such a knowledge about portfolios, which one is suitable and which one suits the profile of the group of people we are talking about. So according to, I think it's Regulation 33, it came up by the FSCA that rather have a default portfolio, which is a portfolio that can be chosen for or by our trustees to say, if you take our fund, you set up a fund with us, and you want the fund to commence, for example, on this month, and you don't want to go through the whole exercise of going through all the portfolios we have and choosing which one is suitable, have a default portfolio, which the employer can say, okay, I'm putting up a fund with you, put me in a default portfolio. The default portfolio was also interrogated. It's not just what we put in place because we are in business and we want you to be in that portfolio. It was also interrogated to say, what is its makeup, which portfolio it is, how does it perform, and so forth. Our trustees have also deliberated on it, then it's a chosen portfolio that we will use. So that is where the background of a default portfolio comes from. But over and above that, then you will have our product. Uncle Kevin will bring the employer to us, and then we will do the quotation. When we do the quotation, we will say, we can set up a fund for this employer. And we have got these product options for you. We've got Founder, which has just your simple, smooth bonus portfolios. Then we have Provider, which is middle of the range product option that has this range of portfolios. Few life stages portfolios, bit of life stages with an element of hedge funds, bit of passive portfolios as well. Then we will have the third option, which we call Entrepreneur, which is then a whole bigger range of portfolios, including external portfolios. Then via your advice, you would say, okay, I would like the fund to be on this product option. So based on that, then it will be a matter of choosing from those portfolios. I could share a screen which currently shows some of the portfolios that are available. Of course, it can change as time goes on.
The list of funds, it can look quite daunting.
Yes.
Maybe if you can just unpack for us what this means in terms of a different range. From what I see here, that you have a Founder. So Founder is kind of your base, the base range. And then you have Provider, which got more funds. Then your Entrepreneur is going to give you a lot more choices. with the external fund managers as well. That looks great in terms of the list. It can be quite daunting to, but that's where I come in as a consultant to help them should they want to choose a different portfolio. So I want to go back to the point about default portfolio, because I understand that Momentum FundsAtWork has a trustee choice portfolio. Is that the term you use, trustee choice portfolio?
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes.
Do trustees make sure that the fees are competitive, fees are kept at a minimum compared to the market?
Excellent, Kevin. So when you choose a default portfolio, those are some of the factors as well that you take into consideration. Not only the suitability of that portfolio for the members in general, but you also want to make sure that it is not too expensive, the cost effectiveness of the portfolio. Yes, 100% spot on.
Can you just explain about the trustee choice portfolios? What are these the employer can choose as a default?
Okay, so specifically for ourselves, our default portfolio is the Momentum Classic Life Stages.
Okay.
So it's a portfolio that uses the life stage philosophy, which works this way. It's interesting how our product house designed it, because it's a life stages, which is designed in, I'll call it 4 tiers. We have level 1 of it, which we'll refer to as accumulator. It goes A, B, C, D.
Okay.
Accumulator, the next one is builder, the other one is consolidator, the fourth one is defender. So when the member invests the money, we will then say, okay, here is the default portfolio. But in the default portfolio, maybe a bulk of his money will sit in A, accumulator, because it is for members who are over 7 years towards retirement age.
Right. Okay.
And then the second one is for a member who's between 5 to 7 years towards retirement. And the other one, just like that, we then invest accordingly. Of course, even the spread and exposure to equities changes accordingly in terms of those ages. So that is the design of it. It's life stages, built in those 4 bands. And then our system automatically tracks the age of the member, and then it puts it accordingly in the default portfolio.
Right. And who managed those portfolios? Is Momentum fund managers, or is external parties that manage these portfolios?
Yes, these are managed by Momentum managers. Even Regulation 28 compliance of that is double checked by our managers as well. Yes.
And is it a multi-manager approach, or is it by 100%. Momentum's own investment professionals?
100% multi-managed. You are correct. Yes. Yes.
Right. So essentially, you kind of take the best of breed approach. You say who's the best in South African equities, who is best in property and bonds, etc., and then you put together multi-managed portfolios.
100%, because investments are like the way one of our experts was explaining, that a portfolio is more like an eye. We look at one's eye, but if you do biology, then you see that from the eye there is lots of nerves at the back that then transmit messages and so forth. So we look at the portfolio, but behind there is lots of other people in the makeup who are playing to bring this portfolio that we see in front of us. So you are correct. I like that analogy of an eye.
I see. Okay, that's a very interesting analogy. And Alex, if the employer decides not to use a default portfolio or trustee choice portfolio, can they use some other portfolio as advised by me? Let's say, for example, I would say to them, maybe you have 50% into the Momentum life stage, but then maybe the others using some kind of external fund managers. Do the employer have the choice to choose something that's outside of the trustee choice portfolios?
Excellent. Yes, the employers have got that opportunity as well. And if you look on my slide there, this investment choice making can come in 2 shapes. In one scenario, it may be one member, maybe one member who is very knowledgeable about portfolios and so forth, who may say, it's fine, default portfolio, but I want to move into another portfolio. So the member can exercise that choice.
Right.
Or it can be done at fund level, where it is a bulk switch, the way we refer to it. It's a bulk switch.
Yeah.
And in that scenario, we assume, as we had a meeting with you earlier in the year, the employer would have sat down with you, you would have given access, so it can be done at that level.
Right.
So as it comes in those two scenarios, in scenario one, it is the member. Where can the member do a switch? They can do a switch online, as we saw, or they can send us a switch form, which we want to attend to within 48 to 72 hours, because the member wants not to lose anything.
Yeah.
And then the second scenario is, if it's a bulk switch, that one will then have to be completed after your guidance, and it has to be signed by members of the advisory body. So then, are there costs involved? Firstly, from Momentum side, we do not charge for making a switch. If a member switches from one portfolio to the other, we do not charge. Number two, we don't also have a limit of switches. We do not say per annum you can switch twice or 3 times. There is no charges. The only charge that applies is if, for example, the member is in the entrepreneur option.
Right.
You know, the top of the range product option, if I may refer to it. Then the member says, I want external portfolios, not the momentum portfolios. Then we'll have an asset-based fee for the member to make use of external portfolios while still in our fund. And it goes according to a scale, you know, for the amount, which is between 0 up to 25 million. It would be 0.5% per annum of that.
Yeah.
And who carries that? It's the member, because the member is the one who's making a choice.
Right.
And that will come out of the member's retirement savings.
Okay, that's an important point, Alex. I want to understand. So, for example, they say all the members, they are happy with the default portfolio, but there's one member saying that I want to go with, say, 91 managed fund. So that's the external fund manager, and that member makes that switch, and he invests in that external manager fund, but then he has to pay that asset fee. Only he pays that fee, and the other members, they are not liable for that fee.
100%.
Okay,
because this is a choice that one person made.
Right.
We can't then go and spread it to the other members who didn't exercise the choice.
Yeah.
They are still in a default portfolio. They just pay the asset management fee for that portfolio.
Okay.
This member is making a choice himself, so he bears the cost for that. Him alone, not the other members. Yes.
So based on what you say, Alex, is that it would be better for members to choose momentum portfolios so that they don't incur that additional cost. And I think that a member needs to be quite convinced of the extra returns, expected return achieved by an external manager in order to compensate for that additional cost. Otherwise, it may not be worthwhile for that member to choose an external manager fund.
Undoubtedly, the way you explaining it like an expert. It's exactly like that. Maybe I'm not giving advice, really.
Yes.
It's best if the members choose the default portfolio, because deliberation, consideration, cost effectiveness, was done on the default portfolio. But if they choose to then go to external portfolios because maybe they perceive it as performing higher, it's good to be cognizant of the added fee that they will incur. And also, I think from your field, you are familiar with this. When COVID was at its peak, we remember the money market was beating even the life stages portfolios at some stage.
Yeah.
So that's why we feel it's good for the members to come to yourself, because sometimes we believe in a portfolio, the name of the portfolio, even if it is being outperformed by the other portfolios, which I think are not the best. So yes, it's some of the facts to consider.
Earlier, you talked about that the member can actually make a switch online on the portal, right?
Yes.
Which I think it's got the pros and cons, because the pro is that the member has really the control and then to do something him or herself. But the downside is that if people are not familiar with investment, if they panic and they just make the switch at the wrong time, and that happens even to me as an advisor, then actually members stands a lot to lose. That's a downside. You don't want to give a machine gun to someone who doesn't know how to use a machine gun. so that's an analogy I would put to it. So I think that fortunately, I think most of members, they are not so tuned to actually go on the portal and actually play around with the switch function. So that's good from the advisor point of view. So even though it's there, but I think it's always good for members to consult the advisor to make the right choice, and then don't just switch in out of funds like they were playing a game, because that's only to the detriment of their savings or investments.
At each and every step, we encourage the members to rather talk to you.
Yeah.
Not only on switches, even when it comes to claims, for example, a member resigning or member send us questions about how much tax will I pay if I resign?
That's right.
What are the retirement options? If I withdraw, how much is the tax, and blah, blah, blah. We provide the information only, and then we add a line that says, but please talk to your financial advisor, because as you say, you don't want to give the member access to do whatever they want to do in terms of switching or flexing up or down, but to their disadvantage. We have the members' interests at heart.
It's like a four-way partnership between the employer, the member, Momentum, in this case, administrator, and ourselves. When a member leaves the scheme or resign, as a financial advisor, I always like to help members to conserve or preserve their retirement savings. The reality is that many members faced with a hard economic reality, and many of them, they actually choose to withdraw, which is unfortunate. As a financial advisor, I always like to help members to, where possible, to conserve their retirement savings so they can continue into the future. And then when they retire at age 55 or 65 or whatever the age, at least they have a good pot of money to look at for their retirement income. Let's turn to the last point. This is about advisory body. I think this is a relatively new concept. Can you just explain to the viewers what is advisory body? Why is it needed?
Yes. So advisory body, you'll find that each provider might have their own jargon to use.
Yeah.
We would refer to them as advisory body members. You may have the other service provider or administrator referring to them as management committee for the fund.
Okay.
But all in all, what the advisory body is, it's a group of people who should be appointed for representation purposes in a fund. And this emanates from the requirement in Section 7, both A, B, C, and I think even D of Pension Fund Act, which says that when you have a fund, there should be those who represent the members. And it breaks it down to member representatives, employer representatives. And those representatives should be equal. If you have two people in the fund representing members, there should be two as well who represent the employer. And their role is to make sure that the fund is run accordingly, and also to make sure that when there are changes, you and I, myself as a specialist, yourself as the advisor, can book a meeting with them, give them updates, how the fund is doing, some information of interest about the fund, then they can take it through to the members. Because some of the employers say, I want a fund, but I don't want it to become another company that I have to run. And
Yeah.
members must also have
Yeah.
meetings every time. So these representatives play a very good part, because we can go give them information, then they can take information to the members. They take interest in what the fund is doing to make sure that the fund is providing suitable, appropriate, swift, professional service, the benefits paid accordingly. And then when decisions are made, they also stand in place of all the members to do the signing. You remember when we spoke about the bulk switch that you and I were discussing earlier in the year, and a few minutes when we were talking now, we said another investment switch can be done for the whole group, because they want to change from this to something else with your guidance. Who then signs that? Again, advisory body members sign that, and they represent the members, as opposed to, for example, having to call all the 100 members to form a queue to come and sign a form. These members represent the members. They have interest of members at heart, to make sure that the fund is run properly, and they represent the members as well.
How often should the advisory body meet?
Yeah, so we are busy now with our legal team. They are busy helping us to put together something that you will find handy, because we want to have a whole pack of what kind of agenda you can put together for advisory body meeting, and also what subjects of interest you can cover, and also yourself and the advisory body can decide on how many times you want to meet. Some say, yeah, let's just have quarterly meetings. Some say, let's meet twice a year. So it really depends on what they find practical with your guidance and also my intervention as we work to take care of the fund.
The viewers would understand the importance of an advisory body for larger employer groups with 100, 200, or even more members. This makes a lot of sense to have that kind of a body, even though it's under the umbrella fund setup, because most employer groups, they join umbrella fund exactly for the reason that umbrella fund takes care of a lot of the legal requirements, the pension fund requirements, and they can just continue to pay the contributions and make sure the benefits are there. And you as administrator, you take care of all of that. They don't have to worry about everything in terms of the administration of the pension fund. But then for the smaller employer groups, I can hear them say to me, Kevin, you are my broker, my consultant. You look after us, and we just make sure we pay. We do the monthly update or administration. And then why do you want me to get this advisory body? Why is it needed? Does the smaller employer groups really need to have an advisory body? What's the implication if they don't have an advisory body? They just say, Kevin, you are the expert, you run with it, and we just make sure that we pay the contributions, and if there's a claim, we deal with it.
Yes, for the fact that it is a compliance requirement, even if the employer has got quite a lesser number of members, they still have to appoint. But we can make life easy there by saying you don't necessarily have to then elect lots of people. You can have one member representative and one employer representative, because you have a fund that has only 5 members, for example. But as you say, if the fund has got 100 members, maybe they can choose 3 or whatever number. But because it is a compliance requirement, yes, the fund must have these representatives so that switches can have somebody signing them up and so forth. And it also talks to the roles, because you have provided advice. They then sign it off on behalf of the members, then take it out in this supply chain to then do the implementation, run with it, just like that.
Alex, thanks very much for your time and your insights and answering my questions. Sometimes I can be a bit probing, but you have done a great job on behalf of Momentum FundsAtWork. Thank you for sharing this time with us. And I'm sure it's going to help a lot of members as well as employer groups. To all the audience out there, if you like this episode, please give the thumbs up and give comments so that we can interact with you. If you have any questions, leave your comment below. And I'm sure with me and Alex and his colleagues, we can come back to you with answers to your questions. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you like this episode and share it with your friends.